Welcome back, everybody. It is Chris Platte, Strictly Hip Hop, and I am joined by my boy, special guest, first time guest on the podcast, my boy DJ Amer. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, man? This is my guy. I talk a lot of music with him. He's a DJ, so I figured who else to talk about with a DJ than Drake, the king of hits, one of the best and most prolific artists of our generation.
Absolutely.
And so we're gonna go through and start a little new series, and that's gonna be ranking discographies. And Drake is, I think, a perfect place to start because I think he's obviously a big name, but also when you look at his albums and his history, there's a little bit to be desired, and then there's a it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. So I'm gonna see. So we're going through all 14 of his studio albums, his two mixtapes, and his collab. So basically, the things we're not including are like the Scary Hours EPs and like the first two mixtapes, Comeback Season, and I'm blanking on the other. So everything else from there, we're going through, and that's 14 projects. We'll just start by reading off each other's lists. Like you'll read your list, I'll read my list in totality, and we'll kind of see where the biggest differences are, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds
So
good.
go ahead and kick it off with your list.
So at number one, I have Nothing Was the Same. Did you want me to read the top three songs like how I did, or
Just read the overall list first,
overall list?
and then
Okay.
we'll get
So
to
number
that.
one, Nothing Was the Same. Number two, I have Take Care. Number three might be a little bit of a shock to people. I got Dark Lane demo tapes. I just like that album a lot. Number four, I got More Life. Number five, I have Views. Number six, I have Scorpion. Number seven, if you're reading this, it's too late. Number eight, the 21 Savage collab of Her Loss. Number nine, Care Package. Number 10, What a Time to Be Alive with Future. Number 11, Certified Lover Boy. Number 12, we got Thank Me Later. Number 13, So Far Gone. And number 14, I think most people would agree with me, is Honestly Nevermind.
Yeah. So we got some similarities, and we got some very, very, very different.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
mine, I'll start with one as well, and I'll just go in the same order. So number one, Nothing Was the Same.
Yeah.
Number two, So Far Gone. Number three, Take Care. Number four, Her Loss with 21 Savage. Number five, we got Views. Number six, you got If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Seven, Certified Lover Boy. Eight, Scorpion. Nine, Care Package. 10, Thank Me Later. 11, More Life. 12, What a Time to Be Alive. 13, Dark Lane demo tapes. And number 14, I'm With You. Honestly, never mind. That doesn't really need to be a discussion.
Yeah.
The biggest things are like kind of, we have pretty much in some sense, not perfectly, but we have More Life and Dark Lane demo tapes flipped with So Far Gone.
hmm
And I think, where'd you have Views again?
I have Views at five. I think ours is the same
Okay,
for
yeah,
Views.
views was
Yeah.
five. Okay, what was the other one that was in your? I had Her Loss much higher, but
Scorpion is six for me.
Scorpion is six for you. I
Yeah.
had If You're Reading It. Where'd you have If You're Reading This? You had that like 7 or 8, right?
I had seven.
Seven.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the same
I think
same
we're in the
range
same
there.
one for that one.
So yeah, so the biggest difference is More Life versus So Far Gone, and I think this is why I wanted to have the conversation with you in particular. So you're how old again?
25.
25.
Turning
Okay,
26 in
yeah.
August.
So you're my era. So it's like, how do you have So Far Gone so low, man? Like,
So with So Far Gone, I wasn't really listening to Drake that much when he
Mhm.
dropped this. Never really cared to try listening for it or anything like that.
mhm.
I actually started when Take Care came out. So when
Okay.
Take Care came out, that's when I was like, okay, this guy's good. This guy's
Yeah.
very talented. I went back and listened to So Far Gone. It's not bad. It just has kind of like that old school sound. You know what I mean?
It definitely does.
You know,
But like,
so,
I feel like my, I guess if there were anything to be a hot take of my list, would be that I have So Far Gone over Take Care, because I think undisputedly two of the top three will be in pretty much everyone's list. Nothing Was the Same and Take Care will be two of the top three, if not one and two, for most people.
yeah,
The reason I put So Far Gone, you're right, is like it is raw.
it is.
But I just, man, there's something about like Come Up Drake that just really
Yeah.
that really gets it. And again, I was at that time, I had heard Best I Ever Had, I had heard Brand New, all
Mhm.
all of the big joints off of the album, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was the biggest on that project. It wasn't
Right.
until later that I went back to it, and he's got Say What's Real rapping over the Kanye beat,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that project is very concise. Like the thing I have about it is that um it's just it's again like the first words are the rawness of it, but even with the shitty mixing and everything, like I grew up on the Dat Piff era, so like that to me was
Yeah,
like, I didn't mind that.
I was big into Dat Piff actually.
But
So
yeah, so it's like it's just underdog Drake, man. Like how can you not love it? And I looked at everything, and I wrote down kind of like a percentage next to each album, because I
Mhm.
went through and I go, okay, how many songs? I have a playlist of my favorite Drake records. How many songs from each project am I actually returning to? Like these are actual Drake records that I'm gonna take and I'm gonna live with for the rest of my Drake fandom. And and I think that's the interesting thing about him, is because a lot of people will listen to his album and you grab your favorites and you go, because he makes a lot. He makes, these 20 plus records, and it's because he's a superstar. So he wants to get the ones overseas. He also wants to get the ones um, that are covering, every demographic that he hits. So when you're doing that, you're not always going to have the most replay value of like the whole album, and you're going to have songs that you just skip. So I look
absolutely.
at the percentage. Like Drake's all about numbers, so I'm gonna be a numbers guy for Drake, and that's the percentage of it. And so 56% of the records from So Far Gone, so that's 10 of the 18 tracks. I find myself returning to quite a bit, which is very high when I compare it to others. Like even Take Care, as good as it is, um, I only return to 40% of the records. And that's because although the highs of Take Care are so much greater than even So Far Gone and pretty much everything in his discography, and the lows are not that low on that album, I find myself returning to more records off of So Far Gone, which is why I put it so high up there. And that was conversely why I'll let you speak on More Life. Um, why I had More Life so low is because, if I'm being real with you, like there's only two songs I'm really, really returning to off of More Life, and I think they're all time great songs, and that's Passion Fruit and Do Not Disturb. Those are awesome songs. I think Do Not Disturb is Drake's best rapping performance.
Two very good songs, but
Yes,
one of those are only in my top three.
one of those. Okay, which one is
Would
it?
be
Is it
Passion Fruit.
is Passion Fruit? Yeah,
Passion
Passion
Fruit.
Fruit. You just can't hate on
It's
it.
just a banger.
You just, I think
Like
it's Drake's best R&B song.
100%.
People want to say Jungle, but I think
100%.
I
And
think
that's actually one of the main
Passion
reasons that album is up so high.
Yeah.
It's mainly because of that song, because that song just took off.
yeah.
It was just amazing.
Yeah, I think with More Life, it's the issue is that I just find that I'm only returning to Passion Fruit and Do Not Disturb mainly. Occasionally Madiba Rhythm, I like that song.
It's a good song.
But then it's just More Life was the one where Drake has always been known to adapt and
Mhm.
get into other styles, and I feel like songs like KMT, obviously there was the whole XXX
thing,
Tentacion thing, and like I feel like he did those songs, but he didn't do them as good as the other artists. And I feel like that's what More Life was to me. And so More Life actually had as my percentage. Let me see what I had it here. I had it as it broke down to in my numbers, uh, 18%. So like I'm really returning to four of the
Not that
22
high.
records, and that's where I kind of hold it down. Although I know some people are a lot higher on records like Portland and
What was the other one?
not Sacrifices. Wait, Sacrifices? Or am I blanking on the record?
I think
There's
Sacrifices.
quite a few on there.
Oh, it was Sacrifices.
Yes, there's Gal
Portland
Chester.
Sacrifices.
I also don't like Free Smoke. Like coming into a Drake project, I always expect a great intro and a great outro, and Free Smoke was not a great intro for me. I know some people like it.
See,
I didn't.
disagree with you on that one.
You really
'Cause
like it?
I like the beat.
Yeah.
I like the flow. I like the lyrics. I think he delivered on that song. I think it was a perfect starter to the album.
Like just off the top of your head though, like would you say that's again of these like 14 records, would you say that's a top 5 Drake intro? I wouldn't say it's close to that.
I wouldn't say top 5. I mean, he's got better.
Yeah, you have
intros.
Tuscan Leather, you
That's my
have
favorite.
Shot, you have Shot for Me, you have
Keep the Family Close. Was
yeah,
not
Keep the
bad.
Family Close is pretty good. If you're reading this, had a good intro. Legend.
Legend was good.
Also, Champagne Poetry off Certified Lover Boy. Like there's a lot of great intros, and so that was kind of my thing. Was it was underwhelming. The outro, like I said, one of Drake's best records ever.
See, now I'm gonna sound crazy, but Champagne Poetry didn't really wow me.
Really?
It was good.
I love that
It
one.
was good,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a intro that was like a Drake intro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was more like a J. Cole type intro to me
Okay.
in my eyes.
That's
But
interesting.
but
That's interesting.
I think my favorite intro was definitely Tuscan Leather though.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
one was just
For sure.
I mean the beat switches, the 3 different beats, they were just amazing.
Yeah, I don't think you can do. I don't think you can debate Tuscan Leather as
No,
like the best.
absolutely
That's one of the
not.
best intros ever to me.
100%.
I
agree.
love that. But more life. I do think it aged well. So I could be a little harsher on it than most people. I don't really get what is it to you about More Life that stands out? Is it the opposite of me where it's like you're returning to a lot of records off of it, or is it just that sound of Drake that you really love? Like what is it about More Life that has it
I think it's just
so
a little
high?
bit of both, honestly. So I like that he tried a new style, and I think it actually kind of suited him pretty well on this album. For me, being it at number 4, I think he did a great job on the album. The production is great. I mean, production means a lot on an album, and the production was just amazing on this one. But as for my top 3 songs, I like Blem. That's
Okay.
probably one of my favorites.
Blem's another decent one.
It's
like
an
that.
underrated song, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't get enough hype that it should. Guile Chester,
Yeah.
not many people like this song. I can
I
see
want to love it
why.
because the beat is so knocking. Like,
can
bro,
see
I want to
why.
love it.
I can see why.
I can see why
not,
DJ would love that record. It's crazy.
It's a good song. It gets the party hype. And of course, Passion Fruit. Passion Fruit was just it had probably his best R&B song, hands down. I don't think there's a better Drake R&B song. So I mean, More Life to me was honestly, I didn't like it in the beginning, but the more I listened to it, it would grow on me.
Okay.
So it definitely wasn't those albums where you listen to it right away and it's like, oh, it's a great album. Like this actually took me a while to grow on it. I'd say probably about a year or 2.
Okay.
But the more I kept coming back to more, the more I liked it.
And I feel the same. And I feel the same way, despite it being so low on my discography of Drake. Is like it did genuinely grow on me, and I do think it. Like I said, it aged well.
It did.
I think that that's one of the albums that stands out. Like really, it was the bottom, but if it wasn't for a few more of his recent releases, it would be pretty much at the bottom. One of those being Dark Lane Demos, which I know you had very high, and we had talked about this at my house. We had the conversation of like just how big of a fan of Dark Lane demo tapes you are. So that was actually when I agreed to do the pod with you, because that's when you said it. You were like, let's do it. And I was like, hell yeah. Let's do this. So then literally the next day, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go through every Drake album. I'm going to start with Dark Lane Demo because I knew it was going to be very high on your list. I didn't know exactly where.
Yeah. It's right after Take Care.
Yeah. And I just like, man, it's the weak intro to me. I don't really like Deep Pockets that much. You could tell with some of the songs like Desired and Not You Too that it was like the CLB sound that he hadn't yet perfected. Like it was in the process of CLB, and it was just kind of like half baked ideas, and that's really what it felt like to me. Like even Tootsie Slide, which was like the big hit off of it, was kind of it wasn't a Hotline Bling. Like it was a hit, but it wasn't that caliber. It wasn't that level to me. Yeah. So like for me, it felt really like half baked. Like the song with Cardi, I want to like parts of it. There's really only 2 records that, again, when I go back to my like all-time favorite Drake records, are gonna be on it, and it really is mainly one, which is Chicago Freestyle. I mean, that's just an awesome song.
Love that song.
I'd be shocked if that wasn't in your top 3 for Dark Lane demo tape songs. And then also, I really like Losses.
Losses is good. That's
the Drake deep cut rap that you could tell I like through Do Not Disturb and other records like that. So those are really the only 2 records that I think he'd ever play. Like I look at it like this, or like you're a DJ, so like when you're looking at the Drake set, and you're looking at the totality of it, like he's 40. Let's say he's 40 now, and he's performing, and he's doing a set list. Like he's probably not playing anything off that album. Like maybe Chicago Freestyle, if that. Like when I look at the caliber of the rest of Drake's discography, man, it just don't hold up to me. What is it for
For
you?
me personally, man, this is a very underrated album, and I can see this being right above. Honestly, never mind for some people, and I can see why.
Mm.
But for me, "When to Say When" was such a good song. I mean, the Jay-Z sample of
Yeah.
"Song Cry." I mean, it was just the way he was flowing on it, the lyrics on there. I will say the only song I probably did not like on this album is "Not You Too" featuring Chris Brown.
Yeah.
That song was
That
just not it.
especially when we had no guidance, like,
Yeah,
bro,
no,
come
that
on.
that song was
You
just
can't
not
give
good.
us that after no guidance.
But
Like,
everything
yeah.
else, honestly, was I liked it. I mean,
Mhm.
Chicago Freestyle, like you were talking about, great song. I mean, how can you hate that? 2C Slide, it was a banger. Desires featuring Future, I love that
Yeah.
song. I think that's a
But see,
great
I'm
song.
waiting for Future to like they gave me Life is Good, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they
no,
gave
I
me
get it.
like, and
I get
and
it.
maybe that's a little bit spoiled of like, like a spoiled Drake fan, but it's like you've given me better versions of these, and that's why
It's not
that's
spoiled.
that's
It's
my
just
thing.
like people have different types of songs that they like. Like this
Yeah.
one was more of like a chill song,
Hmm.
and then you have What a Time to Be Alive. Like that
Yeah.
was just straight up rapping. Like
Yeah.
that whole album was just rapping.
100%.
And then my top three songs in this album is Chicago Freestyle, obviously. Landed. I loved Landed. Um,
That was one that grew on me too. Like when I went
yeah,
back, I was like, okay, I'm not adding it to the playlist, but I don't mind this as much as like I thought, because I generally blanked out
yeah.
everything of Dark Lane demo tapes
See,
before
ever
coming
since
back
this
to it.
album came out for me, Landed has probably been in my top 10 Drake songs
Really?
for me. For
Oh,
me personally, because I just love the song that much. I think
yeah.
I mean, the beat's knocking, he's rapping, he's doing his thing, and I don't know what it is. There's just something about the beat that was different.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and then Pain 1993. I like that song a lot. I mean, honestly, Cardi didn't do as good as,
Hmm.
we all thought he would. Because to me, I don't see Cardi as that great of an artist
Yeah.
in my eyes personally. He's more for like the, rage and,
Yeah.
when you go to concerts, you want to get, hyped and turn up and shit.
Hmm.
But those three songs for me are amazing because Drake did his thing on all three of those songs. And then you got D4L. That's a great song with Thug and Future.
Yeah.
They killed that. Demons with Fabio.
Mhm.
Love that song. War. I mean, these are just all good
Yeah.
songs in my opinion, in my eyes.
Yeah.
So
War was the one that like I was like, okay, I'm because that was the one he dropped the video with and everything,
Yeah.
and it was the
Yeah.
whole like the that whole
the
flow.
accent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay.
See, I like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I was like, I don't know. I was like, he's smooth and he's doing his thing over it, but I don't find myself ever really going back to like that. He
Respect.
when he goes into that pocket in like certain instances, I'll enjoy it, but I never will like. I don't know, that record just didn't connect. But I could see why
And that's understandable. I mean,
why it connects.
like I said before the podcast,
Yeah.
everyone's got their own opinions.
Yeah.
People will like certain albums, people will hate certain albums. So, but
Mhm.
this one for me is just number 3.
Let's talk about before we get to like number 1 and 2, like because we do gotta spend time on Nothing Was the Same and Take Care and
Absolutely.
why they are so high.
Absolutely.
Another big difference like was Her Loss.
Mhm.
I believe I had it 4th and you had it what, like 8th or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I had it, 8th.
I really like this album, man. Like it's so good. It finished in my top 10 last year for albums of the year. I believe it was actually 5th or 6th. And it's I get like, again, Take Care is so monumental and the highs of it are so high, but if I'm being honest, like if I'm running through an album,
Mhm.
if I'm running through a whole album, the album I'm enjoying more is Her Loss. Like it's the consistency of it.
It's a good
It's
album.
it's super consistent. It's super concise. It's only 16 tracks.
You had it at 4, you said?
Yeah, I had it at 4
Okay.
because I think to me the way I did it, and so I'll explain it to you, because when I was sitting back and I was looking at the list, I kind of like almost tiered it out, and the top tier, the S tier would be Nothing Was the Same, Take Care, and So Far Gone. Like I think those 3 are like deserve to be like on their own level. Again, you disagree with me on So Far Gone, but then the A tier above that, I'd have Her Loss. I think there's the clear top 3. Then I think there's a clear number 4. Then there's
Yeah.
another gap, and then there's 5, which is Views, which also which Views and If You're Reading This stand together to me.
Great
and
albums.
then I group together, Certified Lover Boy, Scorpion, Care Package, Thank Me Later, More Life, What a Time to Be Alive. And then I put on its own tier Dark Lane Demo Tapes because I put it below that, but it wasn't bad enough to be Honestly Nevermind, which deserves its own tier of trash.
Yeah,
So
that's
like when I'm
lower than
ranking it,
enough.
I really feel that way about Her Loss. Like I feel like that is like cemented to me like his fourth album, and maybe I'll change in time. But like when I listened to the albums and I went back through them all, I'm just like, this one is special. The chemistry between him and 21 is just perfect. Again, the sequencing is perfect. Everything that he does, it's everything we wanted What a Time to Be Alive to be. Because I also feel like, judging by your ranking too, you kind of feel like that's a good project, but it's slightly overrated.
It is
in
pretty
terms of
overrated.
Drake's discography.
This one is definitely better, but honestly, I'm just gonna say the only reason I put it at number 8 is because it's still a new album.
Mhm.
It's still gonna grow on some people. People
Yeah.
are you know, you don't know how it's gonna do in the long run, or if it's gonna
That's
you know,
true.
stay. You know, in 5 years later, we don't know if we're gonna be listening to this.
That's true.
Nothing was the same. I still listen to, and that album came out what, about 7 years ago,
Yeah.
about there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Oh no, it's going on 10. It'll be
Is
10
it
this
10?
year. Yeah, because
Wow.
2013.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only reason I put it at 8 is because, you know, I didn't want to put it too high and I didn't want to put it too low
Mm-hmm.
because it's still a new album. Like
That's fair.
it is definitely a good album. I
Yeah.
mean, they did their thing on it. But, you know, like I said, it's just, we'll see where it goes in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, in 5, maybe even 10 years, like nothing was the same. Will it still be in your 4 spot?
That's
or maybe
totally
will
fair.
it drop?
Maybe I am way too prisoner of the moment because that album is at this point of recording like it's like 6-8 months old, so it's like
Yeah, it's
like not
it's
even a
fairly new.
year. Yeah, it's not
Which-
even
Which
even
is
a year
fine because that's your opinion. You know,
Yeah.
if you like that album
for sure.
and if you think it will stay with you, then, you know, 4 is not a
For
bad
sure.
spot.
I'm confident that it will, but you're right. It definitely could flip, and that's the interesting thing about Drake is that a lot of his albums do age well. Like you kind of visit
do.
them back, and you're just like, okay, again, like that's why I like Drake albums because although I'm bashing the fact that there's too many tracks and all of that, I also look back at it like he does a good job of giving you enough songs that age well to where when you're listening, if you do run it through like I did and did my homework for all of these albums, I'm not sitting there like wanting to blow my brains out every time I'm listening to each album. I'm running through and I'm like, okay, you know, maybe there's a couple song stretch where I'm not really as tuned in and I kind of zone out a little bit and that they're not hitting for me. But then he'll have a song like Hotline Bling or something that brings me right back in, and then I'm like, okay, I'm in, and that's what Views was for me. Views has aged really well, and I'm interested to see how Certified Lover Boy will age, and I'm interested to see how Her Loss will age too. But it's interesting like viewing them all in totality and where they are because like Care Package was number 9 for me, and that was. I think it was
Same.
also number 9 for you.
Same.
It's just like that's a collection of songs that were
we've
from
already heard.
that we
Like-
already heard from like the Drake era,
Yeah,
and
like it was good.
the early Drake era. Yeah, and it's good. It's got a lot
It's
of
got the
good
hits,
records.
you
It's
know?
the closest thing I will ever get to a Drake album that I truly want, which is like that
got Sing
that
and
spur of the
Drake,
moment. Yeah, you got 4 p.m. in
rapping.
Calabasas. You got
Yeah, that's a great song.
yeah, you got 5 a.m. in Toronto. You got all these records. Like Drake dropped 4 p.m. in Calabasas 2 weeks after Views, and I'm like, Drake, this is better than every record on Views in my opinion. Like,
He honestly
I-
should have put it on there.
yeah,
And it felt like a Views song.
yeah,
It felt like a Views song.
it's Drake is just awesome with his collection of songs and his vault that he can get to, and that's why Care Package to me ended up being so high. And like I wanted to put it higher, but it's hard to put like a collection of records that you know are Lucy's over like a fully produced album. Like, you know, like I had Scorpion and Certified Lover Boy. It's like I really like Care Package, but I couldn't necessarily put it over those because I felt like it's hard to put an album full of those songs over like again an album that you sat and locked in with for years
I agree
and
with
like
that.
and worked on.
Now for Care Package, what
Yeah.
would you say your top 3 songs are for those?
Okay, let me pull up the track list to make sure I got the 3 I want. But I'm pretty sure they'd be Jodeci Freestyle, 4 p.m. in Calabasas, and probably I Get Lonely, but let me double check that. Let me double check that right quick. Care package. Let's see here. So I'd say, yeah, 4 p.m. in Calabasas. Ooh, maybe 5 a.m. in Toronto, and then Jodeci Freestyle. Those three are all great. Those are all rap records, though. If I wanted to balance it, I would throw in either I Get Lonely. That's always been just a deep cut of mine, or Club Paradise. I've just always really loved Club Paradise. That's the Drake that I love, man. That's the Drake that I grew up, and you could tell because of having Nothing Was the Same, So Far Gone, and Take Care all at the top. It's like that is that Drake era. It's very defined. Now that we look back at what Drake is now and look all the way back to that, it's like, man, that's a totally different Drake. And Care Package, that collection of records was that. So what was the 3 for you?
So that's the reason I asked you, is because I had a feeling you were gonna pick like the rapping Drake songs. Mine are more of like the singing ones, which these are actually one of my favorites on the album. So my top 3 is How About Now, which when I first heard that song, I was like, wow, like this has to be on an album, And then he dropped Care Package, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Days in the East.
Yep.
I love that song. Oh, yeah. I think
one of my favorite beats.
Yeah,
that's 100%. Such a good beat.
That's what made the song for me.
Dude, that's a great nighttime ride.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And for number 3, I couldn't pick between 2 of them. So I have Can I, featuring Beyonce, which I mean, not many people like that song, but it's one of my personal favorites on this one. Or The Motion.
The Motion. I was just listening to that today. I was like, man, I love this song too.
I know it's on the deluxe of Nothing Was the Same, but for some reason on Care Package, it just felt right to put it on there.
It feels right. It feels like
because it's like an unreleased type. Because these are mostly unreleased.
Yeah, songs. It feels like a deep cut. It feels like
So I love 100%. So those are my 4 really. Okay. I couldn't pick between the 2, but yeah.
Interesting. The one thing that we both had in common, and I actually had a big argument with Easy about this, who you just met, about Thank Me Later, and we both have it pretty low. Where was it for you?
Believe it or not, third to last, so 12.
Yeah, so 12, and I had it 10. And it's so funny that like the era of Drake is, so you get So Far Gone, Take Care, Thank Me Later, then Nothing Was the Same. Or sorry, Take So Far Gone, Thank Me Later, then Take Care,
then Nothing Was the Same.
Then Nothing Was the Same. Yeah. And so you look at that, and it's like, okay, that era, 3 of them obviously I have in my top 3, and then that one I have all the way down there. I think it's unanimously like that album that like in that era that Drake missed. Like there's still good songs on there. They're still over. I still enjoy Light Up.
All Night.
I enjoy Up All Night. I enjoy Miss Me. Fancy. Like there's some
the rest are just
Find Your Love, of course, is one of my favorite
and
Drake
that one
songs
too as well. Yes.
As well.
But the rest, like I did not like karaoke.
Yeah.
I hated that song for the longest time, and I still do. What was the other one? Renaissance.
Yeah, I'm just those records. Fan. I'm never coming back to them.
Not at all.
I don't really care.
And honestly, even the album. Like last night, I put it in my car as I was driving home from my girlfriend's house, and I was playing the album, and I'm like, wow, really? The only 3 songs I would personally go back to is Over, Up All Night, and Miss Me. Those are like the only songs. Like and Find Your Love, of course. Yeah. Even Fancy, like Fancy was just okay for me.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything spectacular.
It was
like
I agree with that. It's one of those ones that like I like it, but I could see why like other people wouldn't. One of those like guilty pleasures. Yeah,
it's repetitive.
But yeah, let's jump into it then. So we have at the top we have both Nothing Was the Same, and I feel like for that one, I used to debate number 1, but for the last few years now, like I've settled into like Nothing Was the Same clearly being number 1. Obviously, the consensus, the cohesiveness, I should say, of the album, how it's so concise, the time it was delivered. Like I did a pod with Easy, and we talked about 2013 that I'm gonna drop next week, and we look back at that era, and so like you got to think about what was happening when Nothing Was the Same drop. That was when Kendrick dropped Good Kid, Mad City, and the world was buzzing. And all of a sudden, Drake went from this superstar to now he is a superstar, but is Kendrick better? Like Kendrick became the overnight infatuation. Everybody in the industry loved Kendrick. Everybody loved Good Kid, Mad City. He had the narrative
Great
to root
album.
for.
Great
So
artist.
it was, and then also Kendrick dropped Control before this album came out.
Which
This
was
is
insane.
which is insane.
That verse was disgusting.
Yes, and like you look at that, so like Drake had the chip on his shoulder, and I really do feel like outside of the Pusha T thing, this was the last time Drake was really challenged.
Yeah.
Like this was the last time that Drake was, and you could feel it in the music. Like I think that motivated him to make his best music, his best album, because like every single song, The Worst, again, Tuscan Leather, man, a Pound Cake,
song.
like literally
Furthest Thing.
everything, Language, like From Time is one of his best, you know, like girl records, and then you have Hold On, We're Going Home, Too Much,
that's a good
like
song.
dude,
You just can't beat this album.
you can't.
You really can't.
You can't.
Like,
Like,
even I like Take Care, but this does not beat Take Care.
like I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at my percentages because I want to make sure it's right. My batting average, if you will, for Drake, and the highest is other than Nothing Was the Same is 56 so far gone. But then after that, also her loss is also 56%. But then Nothing Was the Same is 73%. Like almost everything on there is like, and those are essential favorites. The ones that aren't, the two that aren't like fan favorite or aren't like all time favorites for me are still really good songs that I like. So
Can I guess them?
So it's like, yeah, let me pull up the
I'm
track.
gonna say Connect.
Yes.
And Own It.
Yes.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Which I still like those songs.
Yeah.
For me, I would personally give this album maybe even higher. I'd probably give it like a 90. Because, like you said, it's really just one song I wouldn't come back to, and it's probably Own It. I still like Connect.
Yeah.
But Own It is really the only one that's
Yeah.
like, eh. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
Own
it's
It's,
like a,
Own It's the only one that kind of like just, all right.
you either
Drake,
like
but-
that song or you hate that
Yeah.
song. For me, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
But
everything
again,
else.
when it's surrounded by all the great songs that it has, it's like when you throw on the album, you can listen to it, you can enjoy it, like
Yeah.
you can. It's nothing
because you
So,
can't compare, you know, Own It to Tuscan Leather or like Pound Cake. Like,
Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah,
You know?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, this is Nothing Was the Same is an awesome album.
Great
and
album.
I can't. I
Probably
like,
top 5 for me in general.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
far as like favorites of all time.
As far as like, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, for hip hop and R&B,
Yeah,
of course.
I don't have it that high up as far as like all time, but it is like an elite album and
So
like an absolute classic. Like the whole narrative, Drake doesn't have classics. Like Nothing Was the Same is a classic, like a super classic. So that was always just stupid to me. But Take Care, the other one that I think a lot of people will have
Pretty high
very,
up there.
very high up there. Like I said, if not one or two, three at the very worst. Maybe like his best over 15 song track list. Like when you look at the ones that are over 15, because Nothing Was the Same as 14. Everything outside of that is like 20 plus, and this is the best one of that. Like I feel like this was the best balance of it. You got so many career defining songs, like of course Marvin's Room, Headlines,
Crew Love,
Motto, Crew Love,
Make Me Proud.
yeah, like there's just a
fantastic
lot
songs.
of big records on here. And then of course one of my favorite, like even the deep cuts I loved, like Camera's Gone, like interlude.
I like the one with
or
Rick
Cameras
Ross.
Go, yeah.
That one was actually really good.
Yeah. So there's just so many records on here, and this is the one, like when you look at YouTube reactors who didn't grow up on the era of Drake, this is the one they react to. And that's because this album has just absolutely aged amazingly. It's aged perfectly. It's still it feels like an old album, but not in a bad way. When you listen to it, you know that it didn't come from your time, but everybody loves it. Like I said, like there's the YouTube reactors, and sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll YouTube react like albums that I really like, just to see like new people experience that album.
Yep.
And every time they're just blown away by Take Care. And it doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter if they came from rap or some other genre or where they're at. Everybody loves that album. It's an absolute masterpiece.
Definitely.
And it's like, again, it's the best of that era. Was just it was Drake on the come up, and Take Care was the time where you felt like he was figuring himself out. He was figuring out the celebrity. Now it's like when Drake makes these songs, it's like
It's easy.
you're on just such a superstar level that
He's already proved
you
so
can't,
much.
yeah, you
It's
can't.
like,
It's harder for us to relate to it. You know what I mean? Like
honestly, I feel like it's hard for him to even just like
write about.
write it anymore.
Yeah.
Like you've already written so much stuff. What else is there to write about?
Yeah.
I mean, he's written about his love life. You know, he's written about, you know, started from the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's nothing else for the man to really write about. Now, if he comes out with something that shocks us, who knows? There could be another album that beats Nothing Was the Same. It'll be hard, or you know, even Take Care. But we'll see. I mean, the guy is still. I still consider him in his prime.
Yeah.
100%.
I think so. I think so. Even though it's a different era, it's still like a second prime. Like a lot of how I feel about J. Cole right now being in like a second prime. Like his last couple years was much better than his previous few years.
I gotta disagree.
Okay.
Disagree.
I listen. We could get into. I got my J. Cole rankings. We could be here all night. But no, just for fun. So I went and used the site Metacritic. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a website I like to use to gauge kind of everybody's thoughts and perspective. So after I made my list, I broke it down into the critic and the fan, and I organized the 14 albums that we did based on the critic score, the average critic score, and the average fan score. Which would you like me to read to you first?
Let's do fans.
Okay, fans. So this one has some shockers in it. So number 1, Take Care. Number 2, if you're reading this, it's too late. Wow. Number 3, Nothing Was the Same. Number 4, So Far Gone. Tied for 5th is More Life and Thank Me Later. 7th is Care Package. Tied for 8th is Her Loss and What a Time to Be Alive, ironically.
Wow. 2 completely different albums.
10, Views. 11, Dark Lane Demo Tapes. 12, Honestly Nevermind. 13, Scorpion. 14, Certified Lover Boy.
Okay.
And just to put like some scores in perspective, so Take Care was the top at 80. That was the highest average, that was the highest average fan score. So an 8 out of 10 essentially. And then the lowest was Certified Lover Boy with an average rating of 3.5 out of 10. Like, I listen. Even when we go to everything, okay, remove Honestly Nevermind from that discussion, and I would personally remove Dark Lane Demo Tapes, because even though despite how you feel about it and liking it as a project, I feel like we both can agree that was a collection of songs, like a care package in a sense. So like if I'm just counting like the serious releases and removing Honestly Nevermind, which we all agree is like, you know,
it's too high on that list, man.
Yeah, is Honestly Nevermind is like the worst Drake record. So if we agree
100%.
with that, my number 12 was What a Time to Be Alive. I feel like that's not a 3.5 out of 10.
No.
Like Drake's worst albums to me are not bad. They're a cluster, like I said when I was doing the tier ranking. You know what I mean? Like there's that giant cluster of What a Time to Be Alive, Scorpion, Certified Lover Boy, all that. They're all in the same range. They're not that bad.
No, not at all.
They're not like Drake. Like the idea, I get that you can knock Drake's albums for having too many songs and having all these skippables, but you know what? You can't say these albums are bad.
No, not
like,
at all.
Like
and that's
a
the thing,
35 and a 37 for Scorpion, right? Let me see if I got that. 39 for Scorpion. Like
that's
Dark Lane Demo Tapes, 4.9 out of 10. Like
that's
not even
low.
a 5 out of 10. That one, the fan one was crazy. Like,
yeah.
Like that was wild. I know a lot of people do like If You're Reading This. That's one that both of us, we had kind of in the same space.
We did, but I don't know if it like Above Nothing Was the Same is a little crazy.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Crazy. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Super crazy. I mean, even above some of the things that we had, like even it was Views was 10, and we had both Views 5, and we had I had If You're Reading This 6, you had a 7, right?
Yeah.
So basically,
I think so.
We feel the same about it roughly. Yeah. It's a very good Drake album, upper tier Drake catalog, but to have it. To have Views all the way down there is crazy. Now that's the fan. Let's look at the critic.
All right, let's hear it.
The critic, number 1, So Far Gone, in 81. Number 2, More Life. Number 3, Nothing Was the Same. Number 4, Take Care. Number 5, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Number 6, Care Package. Number 7, Thank Me Later. Number 8, Honestly Nevermind. Number 9, What a Time to Be Alive. Number 10, Views. 11, Scorpion. 12, Her Loss. 13, Dark Lane Demo Tapes. 14, Certified Lover Boy. So both
Wow.
the fan and the critic had Certified Lover Boy the lowest. Now the critic score was a 6 out of 10. So
Wow.
again, and that's kind of how I feel like a Certified Lover Boy is to me, is like somewhere between a 6 and a 7, like it out
Same.
of 10.
Mine was pretty low. It was 11, but I still would not put that album last at all. Like
Especially,
even
dude,
not
honestly,
including
Nevermind was 8.
that, which is
It had
insane.
a 73 rating. That's a 7.3 out of 10.
I don't understand what other songs they come back to other than Sticky and Jimmy Cooks.
Yeah,
Even Sticky.
I will say
it's
there's
like,
one song that
is it Messy?
Massive. You mean
Massive. My bad.
No, Massive. I don't mind listening to. I think I did throw that on like my Drake favorite playlist, but I don't really play it that much, so it's kind of shouldn't really be there. I like Text Go Green. I really like that one. That's one that I just
Can't do it, man.
Cannot
do it.
Yeah, I could play it by the beach and whatever and chill. If the environment's good. I was actually playing it quite a bit the last couple of days. That is a song that has generally stuck with me. But I still feel like I don't even love it as much as I played it. It's very weird.
It's just not a good album.
And then Jimmy Crooks and what's the other one? Sticky. Yeah.
Sticky.
Yeah. So like
those are the only two I like, honestly. Other than that,
it was lazy. Like the writing on it was so lazy. It just
production was
it
bad.
felt nothing. Yeah, the production,
the writing was
too,
just trash. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking with this.
Yeah.
Now there is people were predicting that the reason he did this is to prove that he can do anything. People are gonna buy it, download it, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he came out with Her Loss, which they were like, okay, this is probably what he was doing.
Yeah.
So we don't, anticipate something.
What honestly Nevermind was for when he tours overseas. Like that was a whole bunch of music that translates in his mind very well overseas. I can see why this song, like it was like More Life. He kind of dipped his toe in it with like Madiba Rhythm and Blem and all of that. He kind of dipped his foot in.
Yeah.
But those are much better versions of the songs that we got. I feel like this time he went full into that, but he did it half-assed. Like he fully committed to it, but he half-assed and he botched it. Yes,
it could have honestly been a really good album.
Like
no joke.
If you're trying to do a whole album of More Life, Madiba Rhythms, Blem, Passion Fruit, like all of that, like if you're trying to do an album like that, I think you got something.
No, he can.
I think you got something, and that's coming from me who had More Life low on his discography, but again, still feel good about it. So like. I just I don't get the honestly Nevermind stuff. I really don't. The fact that it's 8 on the critic score.
That's so high.
These are professional publications. I'm like okay.
I don't understand what they were
I want to see
thinking.
I want to see what the hell they're doing. Like how the hell did they have it?
No, I want to sit down with one of them.
Yeah.
And like what the hell were you thinking and why?
Cuz like I don't get it at all. I don't get how you can like Drake has made way better R&B songs. He's made way better Lucy's than honestly Nevermind.
I wouldn't even put What a Time to Be Alive that high, and that album shitted on honestly Nevermind.
Yes.
It was 100%. Just so different.
There's no debate. It's a better album.
Way better.
There's no debate. And yet on this one, it's rated lower than honestly Nevermind. That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's crazy to me. I think we pretty much talked about all of the albums that we had on here. We didn't really mention Scorpion because we had that kind of in the same.
Scorpion and CLB, I believe.
Yeah,
didn't really say much about.
Are the two that we didn't really touch on. And for me, Scorpion.
And If You're Reading This Is Too Late. I don't think we touched on that one yet.
Yeah, but that was one that I feel like again we feel the same. It's very good.
It's amazing. Yeah,
it has an elite starting. It has an elite starting 5. Like the first 5 tracks of the album are just like some of Drake's best run.
Like Jungle is just different.
Yeah,
that song
Jungle
is, so
is awesome. I will say there's a few more records in there that like I skipped than I thought. You know what I mean? Like I didn't when I was listening to the whole album, I was kind of like, oh, like I really do like this album because there is some very good songs on here and there is some very good stretches, but there's also some stretches where I really kind of lose focus and I don't really go back to like that back half of the album outside of 6 p.m. in New York and Jungle. Really, I don't really go I don't
Yeah,
really
the
go back to
second
it too
part of
much.
the album.
Yeah.
Like what was the one with Travis Scott? Was it Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that song that
Yeah, I
much.
didn't care for it.
I know what you mean though. Like the last half of the album
Yeah.
was it was okay.
Yeah.
But the top half was
Was fire.
amazing. I
Was
mean,
fire.
Madonna, you got No Telling, Six God,
Yeah.
Six Man was good. Even though I think
Yeah.
that was on the second half.
Yeah, six. Well, there's Six God and Six Man, and I
I think
mix up
Six
where
Man
they
was on the
are.
bottom.
Yeah, Six Man was the. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that was.
Which that was like the only song on that bottom half that I actually kind of liked,
Mm-hmm.
fucked with. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean it's a decent album. At 7, it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So
That's how I feel about it, and
Yeah.
like. I wanted to say like I got very close to putting Certified Lover Boy over it, but I just can't because that just the cohesiveness of if you're reading this it's too late at the times where it hits
Yeah.
were just more consistent. That Certified Lover Boy was like I felt like when I was listening to it, it was him throwing darts every which way, and
Yeah.
some sticked and some didn't.
Yep.
So I really like my favorites off that are Champagne Poetry. I really love TSU.
That's
TSU is one
in
of
my
my
top 3 for
is
sure.
one of my favorites, and then probably either Race My Mind, because I like Drake in his feelings, and then yeah, those would probably be my top 3. I also really enjoy You Only Live Twice with Ross and Wayne.
I was gonna say that one's in my top 3. I have You Only Live Twice, TSU, and believe it or not, Fair Trade. That one is actually a very good song.
I love Fair Trade. I love Drake's part, but the Travis part just doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
It doesn't work. The Drake,
I feel like he did it half-assed.
Ever since Sicko Mode, they just decided that every song they do together, they're gonna change the beat 3 times, and it's like, bro, it's not necessary.
Sicko Mode, honestly, I'm gonna be honest. It's an overhyped song. Like it's a good song, but I feel like it just gets way too much play.
I can't say it because like I feel like we're at that point in our lives where it was so played out that like it's too fresh in our memory. I feel like if we circle back like we were talking about in 5 years with Her Loss or 10 years with Her Loss, I feel like we're gonna like Sicko Mode again because we're just so fatigued with it right now because we still hear it, bro. Like you still play. You're everywhere. A DJ. Do you still play it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. God. Like you can't escape that record.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's all over, man.
It's a little bit of fatigue there.
I don't think it'll go away. That's the thing. Because like I mean, it's all over the radio too, man. Like Channel 955. Then you got 97.9.
Eventually, it does though. Everything does go away. Yeah. And then comes back. But it's gonna go away.
Did we discuss Views? Pretty high up there for me.
Yeah, we both had it at 5. I think that's an album that again aged pretty well. But my personal feelings are relatively the same on it. Like I started my podcast when Views dropped that same year, and it's just it's what you expect from Drake. Is Drake covering multiple pockets of the industry? But I will say like this album is among the best of his recent albums in terms of like sequencing and cohesion. Like when you look at it, like the way each track flows into the next, all of the sequencing of it is just really good. Like it's structure, it's sonic, it fits a vibe, and that's why I think it aged very well for me. Because again, although there's songs that I don't like on there, there's songs that I don't really care for. Then you have for every few songs I don't care for, there's one that I really like. There's Redemption. There's
These are the ones that you
ways.
like?
Yeah. There's You With Me. There's all sorts of there's 9. There's just enough. It's just well based and it's well structured, and I think that it's probably one of Drake's best performances in terms of like the art of making an album. And so that's why, to me, it belongs pretty much on its own tier. I have it, and If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, because that's a little more consistent as far as the songs I like. But as far as the cohesion, like Views is awesome for it.
It's a great album.
So I really like. If you have anything you want to add to that.
For Views, I mean, not really. I mean, other than my top 3 is 9, Feel No Ways, and believe it or not, Too Good featuring Rihanna. That song is probably one of my favorites on that album.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just different, like I don't think we've had a Drake song that's like that. Before the Views came out.
Today is beautiful out in Michigan, and like I was riding down, and I I put that on the whip. I was like, man, too
Did
good.
you?
Like, yeah, this it's a summer song.
It's a good song.
Like when I'm gonna be hosting my summer gatherings and whatever. Like that's gonna be on the summer
Oh yeah.
playlist all the time. Like
Oh yeah. And
that's
same
a
with
great
singles, Passion Fruit. I mean, you roll down the windows and
yeah.
it's just a summer vibe.
Yeah, West the Road Flows was another great one for me on there.
That's a good
That I
song.
still love, and I always did love Control at One Dance and Hotline Bling. Like the hits on there too were ones that I did like.
Yeah.
They were ones that I think aged well too.
Did you like Faithful?
Faithful was the one that I want to like, but I really only like the one part of it. I like 2 seconds of the song, and it's like I love the beat, but then I love the you would think it's all mine the way I push it. Like that part is cool, and then the faithful. I'm like that's where you lose me.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love the way I was like, okay, Drake.
It's like one of those songs I
like
want to love, you know?
Yes.
Well, but it's just like the beat is good and everything. It was just the way he rapped on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Scorpion was the only one we didn't really touch on, and that one to me, I feel like you'll feel the same way about it. Because you had it where
I had at 6.
you had it at 6. Okay, so you might be slightly higher on it than I am.
Yeah.
I have it 8, but again, it's in that cluster of you can argue back and forth. For me, it's a pretty obvious take, and I don't think I'm the first to say it. Is that the rap side is awesome.
Yeah,
pretty much
definitely.
outside of "I'm Upset," which was a song that I never liked.
Really?
Yeah, I never liked that one.
That's,
I know you're a DJ. Like you gotta you gotta love that song. But
love that
I
song.
just I don't know. I never got it. Also, probably Push kind of ruined it by like
Talk Up
by
was
talking
really
that
good.
shit. Talk Up,
Jay-Z.
yes, that's
Great song.
that's an elite song.
And even
That
for
rap
me,
side is great.
oh, 100%,
It's great. It's just the
100%.
R&B side weighs it down for me.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, and like even me being a DJ, I like, of course I'm gonna like hype music and stuff like that. But my top 3 actually had to change it a little bit on here. It was Mob Ties, Nonstop, and Can't Take a Joke. I had to replace Can't Take a Joke.
I love Can't Take a Joke.
I love it, and if I could put it in a 4th spot, I would. But I had to take off Can't Take a Joke and put Sandra's Rose.
Yes, Sandra's Rose. That's what I'm saying, man. That rap side, and like we didn't even talk about like this doesn't make my top 3 for sure. It doesn't even probably make my top 8 on that album. But like Emotionless, crazy,
it's a great album or a great song.
crazy. I didn't care for it. It's funny that you say Survival or Nonstop. Nonstop was like one of the hits that I didn't really care for. Like it's one of those ones I don't mind it. Like if it plays on, I'll jam to it. But like it was
goes
never
into that
one
overplayed thing again. Like like there was a TikTok about the song with the switch and like it was just overplayed. But it's still a good song nonetheless. I mean, And then Mob Ties, love Mob Ties.
Love Mob
Too
Ties.
good.
Love 8 out of 10 too. Like
That's
it was
a good
just
one.
it was awesome, and the rap side was very good. It was just the R&B side. Like when you go to the R&B side, I'll pull up the track list here.
The
and
R&B side wasn't too bad.
It
wasn't terrible.
It's not terrible, but it weighs it down. Like also, Is There More is a great outro. On the rap side.
Amazing.
But you have Peak, which I just did not like. I will never like Peak. I like Summer Games. It is very Kanye-ish.
It is.
It is. But I really like that one. Of course I love Nice for What. That's an absolute jam. And then I didn't care for, obviously Ratchet Happy Birthday is terrible.
Yeah, I hate that song.
Do not like that song.
I don't like that song.
Finesse, I kind of like. I really just only like the hook of that one. That's How You Feel. I kind of enjoy. Blue Tint was not my thing. I know some people may like that more. Yeah.
I like that song.
It's one of those songs where I can see why other people like it. Even if I don't like it,
Don't Matter to
In
Me.
My Feelings, I loved. Don't Matter to Me, I loved. After Dark, I like.
Love that song. Final Fantasy was amazing.
Final Fantasy, I didn't care for.
What?
I didn't really care for it.
That's
and then
crazy.
March 14th just didn't feel, and not just because of the Push thing. It just felt like the whole situation of like the kid and all that, like, because that's what March 14th is, and he's addressing it. It just didn't feel like he was genuinely addressing it. It felt like I know Drake can write a better outro than this. I know he can.
Yeah, it wasn't a great outro, but
it kind of,
I see what he was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
But
so overall, it's not bad. Like I said, I named quite a few songs that I like in there, but it's just like, but how many of those do I really, really love? not many. Pretty much just In My Feelings, Don't Matter to Me, and Nice for What. Those are really the only three from that side that I love. Like even the ones like Summer Games that I mentioned and That's How You Feel. Those are cool, but
Yeah.
not really going out of my way to listen to them, you know.
Yeah.
So that's is that where what Scorpion was for you? Like why it's not higher or why it is where it is because basically the rap side is here and the R&B side kind of weighs it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I mean, I did like the R&B side. Obviously, the rapping side, I don't think there was one bad song. Like they were all solid.
Yeah.
You know, like Sandra's Rose, Can't Take a Joke, Mob Tie. I mean, it's all up there. I'm upset. The R&B one, it did weigh it down a little bit, and that's honestly why it's at number
6. Yeah.
6. Yeah. I mean, if the bottom side was like the top side, it would probably be close to Take Care. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you had decent songs like what you did in the first half.
Oh yeah, if you're batting what you were batting on the rap side, then this is so that is a top probably 3 or 4 Drake album.
Next to Nothing Was the Same.
It'd be in that Nothing Was the Same, Take Care
category.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, liking only maybe about 4 of the songs. You know, them being Nice for What, Blue Tint, In My Feelings, Don't Matter to Me, After Dark, and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So like about 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, March 14th didn't care for. That's How You Feel didn't care for. Ratchet Happy Birthday, terrible. Finesse didn't like. Jetted didn't like. Summer Games, Peak did not like.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it weighed it down a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it there.
Yeah. I feel that. Well, I think we hit them all.
Yeah.
I mean, to close, it's honestly it is a very good discography, and I want to close with that remark because I feel like Drake does get, as you can see by the fans and the critics, he does get bashed a lot for his albums. Like his album scores, like also it's crazy to me that you're telling me that critically, Nothing Was the Same as a 79. So you're telling me that's a C+?
Insane.
That's a C+ album?
That's insane.
I've taken tests and gotten C+. That's not a C+.
That's not a C+.
No, that's a A.
It's not even a B. Like,
yeah,
come
bro.
on
like, come on, man. Take Care is a B-, an 80. Like, bro,
that's so bad, dude.
Yeah, what are we doing here? So I feel like people, and I think everybody has the same critique I have, is that it is just too many songs.
It is a lot of songs.
But there are some albums where he either cuts it down or like in the case of Nothing Was the Same, or in Take Care and Views, sequences it very well and makes it worth it and enjoyable. And like, again, I mean, we're talking, you know, What a Time to Be Alive was for me my 12, and for you it was somewhere in that range, right? It was
What a Time 10? To Be Alive was I believe 11.
11? Okay,
11, yeah.
So we basically have in the same place. So for that to be your 11th or 12th best project, like, so many rappers would kill for that to be their best album, let alone their 12th best album. So I feel like Drake is underappreciated in terms of his discography because he's looked at so much as
hate,
and like if we're also being funny, like I wrote like on my tier notes, I was like, you know, in the S tier, which was Nothing Was the Same, Take Care, So Far Gone, that like God tier, I put in parentheses, you could probably add another album off of his features. Like, if you were to just take Drake features,
100%.
Like, dude, you can make that a double album. You can make that a double album of just certified bangers.
Absolutely.
And then you can do another, like in A tier, I have Her Loss, but you could probably do another one off of like the Scary Hours plus like Lucy's type thing. Like you could like take like a Care Package type route and make like that into a project, and that would be like another A+ album. So it's like, dude,
I think he will release a second Care Package.
He will.
Because, you know, like, I mean.
Because that was one era, and I think he's going to do one for like a newer era. Yeah. You know, because that was a very defined Drake era.
Like,
you know?
These are already old songs. Like, How About Now came out, man, I was like maybe freshman in high school. Yeah. It's old, you know? So I think he will come out with a second one.
I think
100%.
So too. I think so too.
And I think the second one will be better.
Yeah.
I think so, you know? But then again, he doesn't have too many unreleased songs as of right now.
Yeah. I mean, he can throw on the Lemon Pepper Freeze, like the Scary Pack, like the Scary Hours 1 and 2, and he'll probably do a third. Yeah. That gets you to plus just like from those plus like songs. Laugh Now, Cry Later.
Yeah.
Like he can put it together. That's what I'm saying about Drake, man. Is I feel like people don't realize how many good records Drake gives. You can highlight the bad ones, and that's fair. That's totally fair. Like girls is like that to me is trash. I don't love it. And I love Lil Baby. But like you can say those records are trash and I'm right there with you. But you can't like discredit all of the great records he gives us. Like, man, I don't know, man. I feel like because he's at the top, he gets a little too much hate.
Yeah,
so I was glad we were able to do this recording.
Absolutely, man.
My boy.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Of course, man. I wanna have you back on. We'll do Kanye.
That would be a good
one. We'll talk off mic and we'll figure out some other ones. But I definitely want to make this a series because I literally
100%.
started this like years ago and I have so many artists ready. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna show you when we get off air. I got like 65 lists ready. Like
Sounds good.
And I'm just trying to find the right people.
Kanye would be a good one. Eminem would be a very good one.
Eminem, I have his list.
I have
as
that
well,
ready
yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got some options, but
Oh yeah.
thank you, my boy. I appreciate you.
man.
That is my boy Amer. Go ahead and make sure I have his socials in the description of this video. Make sure you check him out and check
Thank
out
you,
everything
guys.
he's doing. And if you're in the Michigan area, this dude throws some lit Vulcan parties. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I know it's not the best endorsement coming from a white boy, but you know I got a little culture to me. And
Hey man, if you guys need hip hop, R&B, rap parties, I do that too. So we'll put the socials at the bottom, and we'll go from there.
All right, man. I appreciate you for coming on, man. I appreciate
you for having me.
Thank
man.
you, everyone, for tuning in. Please make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all of that. Help build the YouTube channel. And if you're on the podcast, leave the podcast 5 stars wherever you get it. Apple Music, Spotify. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can find me. And make sure you're tuning in live on the Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports every Monday through Friday, 5 to 7. I'm a lot of places, I know. Also, my Friday music live streams with Nate and the guys. I got to get you on that too. Nate and the guys doing Imperial Media TV. So I'm a lot of places. Check me out everywhere, and my socials will also be in the description. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a good one.